Hey guys, Zulk here and welcome back to another video of messing around with Zulk. Last time, well not last time, I don't actually remember if it was the last time or not. Whatever, doesn't matter. On a past video, I did a DnD reaction video where I reacted to a video by Arlentric over here. And recently I got recommended this video, the evolution of DnD spells, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And I don't know why, on a whim, I decided to watch this video, well, react to it on camera. And maybe I'll upload this video, maybe I won't, depending on how things go. So yeah, I have not watched this video before. Let's see.
It's amazing how much D&D spells have evolved throughout D&D's history. What are you talking about? My beloved wizard spells haven't changed at all. If we go all the way back to 1st edition, you weren't even called wizards. Instead, just the vague term of magic users, and you were only one of 4 playable classes. And were sorcerers one of those 4 options?
What the hell's a sorcerer?
Take that, you stupid spellcasting posers.
Ah, yes. Speaking of spells, it seems you've got a bit of a downgrade compared to what I have access to. I can cast Bigby's Crushing Hand.
You mean floating hand, right?
I meant exactly what I said. A hand the size of an ogre that can grab, squeeze, and crush the life out of any creature.
That's incredible. What other spells do you have at your disposal?
Well, who could forget the cantrip Yawn? And if the target fails a magic save, they yawn and become more susceptible to the sleep spell.
That doesn't quite seem up to the same level as your previous spell.
Well then, what about Sticks to Snakes, turning sticks?
Let me guess. Into snakes. I think I've heard enough. Did they at least clean up some of this ridiculousness in 2nd edition? Well, no actually, because we got even more obscure. That can't be possible. The perfect starting point is the spell there, not there. What? It's a wild magic spell that creates random fluctuations in the probabilities of existence in a specified area. So what does that actually look like? Essentially, the state of existence.
Because, one thing about this of that, I don't think 1st edition had cantrips. Yeah, I don't think Yawn was a cantrip because I don't think 1st edition D&D had cantrips. At least not in the way 5th edition has it. But then again, I should give a disclaimer. I do not have much experience with the past editions of D&D. A little bit of 3rd edition, but I don't actually have any play experience with 3rd edition or 3.5 edition. I know a bit about it because I did read the rules at one point. But yeah, I am mostly a 5e guy. But I'm pretty sure 1st edition didn't have cantrips.
For any object or creature within this zone changes randomly for each viewer, so something that is temporarily visible for me might not be visible for you, and this could change multiple times throughout the course of a combat encounter. My brain hurts. Well then, perhaps a ride on my airboat will calm your mind. And what do you mean by airboat? It's just another spell of mine that allows me to transform a cloud into a vehicle of transportation. I can't tell if any of these spells are actually useful. You haven't even heard the worst of it. And what are you meant to be? Isn't it obvious? An illusionist. So 2nd edition introduced class groupings of sorts, which helped categorize the different types of classes you could play as. So the newly introduced illusionist and mage fit under the wizard category. So what? They're like a kid's magician? Could a kid's magician summon a fetish spirit? I'd really fucking hope not. Well, if that doesn't do it for you, I could give you the Eye of the Tiger, conjure up some turtle soup, or cast Due North. And what does Due North do? It allows me to determine which way true north is. Alrighty, I think I've had enough of this conversation as well. When did things start looking like current D&D? We calmed things down a hell of a lot and cleared out some of the ridiculousness from our predecessors, except for Lam's finger darts. Come again? It's a spell that allows me to shoot off my fingers like little missiles at any target I specify. Of course that's what it does. And if you went down the red wizard route of things, you could cast the spell Flensing, which would peel the flesh of all creatures within a zone for 4 rounds like a cheese grater. Intriguing. Tell me more. I think that's enough about red wizards for now. Can see how excited you're getting. How about you explain to him what happened to the illusionist? Well, there's really not much to say. What happened was necessary. They no longer exist. 3rd edition was responsible for shaping what the majority of modern D&D looks like, but we had the benefits of prestige classes.
Hold on. I need to close something real quick. There. Just needed to close the snip thing.
And what exactly is a prestige class?
Oh my dear sweet boy, how have they kept you from me? Prestige classes were essentially subclasses that you could optionally opt into once you unlocked a certain prerequisite for that prestige class. Majority of the time, this took the form of dedicating a certain number of class levels in a base class.
Okay, so how many options did you have for these prestige classes?
712 to be exact.
Wait, what?
I think I just had an aneurysm.
It is pretty
712? I must have really. Those must have been from outside source books or something, because I remember I read, I think one, maybe two third edition books. Didn't get to play third edition, unfortunately, but I did read, I think, one or two, or I may be confusing it with Pathfinder first edition, which is very similar to D&D third edition. But I thought there were like only 10 or something prestige classes. Also, on the topic of prestige classes, I remember reading the rules on that, and yeah, for some reason I just did not like it. Like, maybe it's much better if maybe it would have been much better if I actually got to play D&D 3rd edition. But just from reading the rules themselves, which again is not the most accurate way to determine these things, prestige classes didn't really seem worth it to me. I felt like I'd rather, if I was gonna multi-class, I'd rather multi-class with a plan, or I just go full 20 levels in one class, you know?
overwhelming, but just to name a few of my favorites, you could become a Dragon Lord, a Metamind, a Lord of the Tides, a Sand Shaper.
I want to become all of them.
Well, you still can. Just come play a few sessions with me.
I haven't heard any of those. The ones I heard was, I think, Blackguard, Assassin. Was Duelist a what's it called? Oh, Blood Rager. Blood Rager was a Barbarian prestige class, I think. Again, I could be mixing this up with Pathfinder, so you'll have to forgive me on that one. Comment down below if I messed up and you wanna scream at me that I'm mixing 3rd edition with Pathfinder.
Get your addictive talons away from my player, you fiend. Well, it didn't sound all that bad. That's exactly what 3rd edition wants you to think. Okay, well, what about 4th edition? Hush! We don't say those words out loud.
Oh, but come on, guys, it really meant well.
If you know what's good for you, 4th edition, you'll stay buried like season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones.
Don't you dare
Talk to my edition like that. No, we're not doing this right now. I'm in the middle of something. Look, if you've got a problem with me, say it to my face. Fine. Nobody likes you. There's a reason people only play 3.5 or 5th edition. What about me? Oh, great. Now look what you've done, 4th edition. As far as I'm concerned, the only complicated thing about 2nd edition is trying to keep track of all of my world notes and NPCs. Not to mention the number of maps and physical character sheets me and my players have to try and keep track of. Paper isn't cheap, you know. Yes, it is. But if technology was just a bit more advanced for the both of you, I think you would have really loved World Anvil. What's a World Anvil? It's an all-in-one campaign manager that instantaneously allows you to access stat blocks and character sheets for over 45 RPG systems. There's other RPG systems? There's actually hundreds. And World Anvil strives to make the management of these systems and your games as easy as possible, with the ability to quickly create session notes, lore, NPCs, timelines, and even digital maps. So just a digital version of what we've already created? Well, with these maps, they're completely interactive online, allowing your players to pan around and read descriptions on various locations, or even click off to link dungeons and sub-maps. They even have the option to add pins for points of interest.
So bad at reacting to stuff. I think I've been silent most of the time.
My wise friend. They even offer templates for all these key features to help get you started. So there's never been a better time to jump online to worldanvil.com and use the code ALENTRIC at checkout to receive 51% off any yearly membership. So get out there and world build. Well, care to explain what the hell that was? It's much easier not to. Fair enough. So what about the other classes? Well...
Okay, so I wasn't paying attention at first because I thought this was a skit. but it looks like this whole thing is the video. So I was expecting a different, more documentary style thing, but this is good too. So with that said, let me just pause here to say a few fun things about first and second edition and third edition as well. I think I believe, again, I'm not sure because I haven't played these editions. Wait, I did play a version of first edition recently, so I do know a bit about that. And yeah, I'm not as experienced in those editions. I have zero experience in those editions compared to 5th edition. But here's some few fun things that I think I know about them. For one thing, in first edition and also probably second and third edition, the amount of damage your wizard spells do, it scales with your level. There's no upcasting there. Like if you cast Burning Hands or something or Magic Missile as a first level wizard and with a first level spell slot, well, spell slots work completely differently in those sessions, but I'm not getting into that right now. With a first level spell slot, and then you cast it again like 10 levels later as a 10th level wizard, even though you're spending a first level spell slot in both cases, your magic missile would still do way more damage when you cast it as a 10th level wizard. Like you get extra magic missile darts, and that scales with your levels. With Burning Hands, you get more fire damage, and it scales with your level. So that's neat, I guess. And the lack of cantrips was interesting because with cantrips as a wizard in 5th edition or any spellcaster really, you always have an option. You're never dead in the water, which is nice. But as the first edition or second edition or third edition wizard, if you run out of spells, hey, good luck keeping up with the dragon when you only have a sling. And your attack modifiers and attack bonuses, they also have base attack bonus instead of like proficiency bonus in those editions, which is a system I don't quite mind, to be honest. I think I like both systems equally, but for different reasons. Like I'd never even considered bringing the base attack bonus system into 5e because I think 5e's combat mechanics are just completely different, and the base attack bonus system is just not gonna be balanced for 5e. Like in earlier editions, you could probably have monsters with like an equivalent of 30 AC or 35 AC, but you'd also have like a plus 16 to hit without calculating your strength modifier into it. So, but then again, fighters are weird because fighters again get multi-attack like they do in 5th edition, well, extra attack or whatever, but each subsequent attack has a lower and lower chance to hit. Like a first edition fighter might have a base attack bonus of plus 10 slash plus 5 slash plus 5 slash plus 5. Sorry, plus 1. That probably made zero sense. Let me show you what I mean. Right, so I have a notepad open. As I was saying, a first edition fighter at a high level might have a base attack bonus that looks like this. And what this basically means is that the fighter can make 4 attacks on their turn, and the first attack has plus 10 to hit, and without factoring in strength, of course. Second attack has plus 5, third attack has plus 5, and fourth attack has plus 2. Whereas in 5th edition, this system is not in play. Instead, it's like 6 proficiency bonus, and if 20th level fighter makes 4 attacks due to extra attack, and all of them has plus 6 to hit without factoring in the strength mods. And when you factor in strength mods, it's more like a plus as 8 or plus 10 to hit, depending on what your strength is. So yeah, it's different systems. Both are good in different contexts, but I think they should not be mixed. Like, I would not want the 5th edition fighter proficiency bonus in 1st edition, and I would not want the 1st edition base attack bonus in 5th edition, is what I'm trying to say here. And there was also a more powerful version of Magic Missile, I believe, called Major Missile, which was a 5th level spell that was essentially just Magic Missile but does more damage. I don't think that's needed in 5th edition because upcasting exists, so that's completely redundant. I wonder if we should make Major Missile. No, like I said, upcasting exists, so it's redundant because you can just upcast Magic Missile as a 5th edition spell slot, as a 5th level spell slot in 5e.
It's a little bit more complicated because not all of them actually existed in previous editions, but
Hey dude, what's up? Like our other magic casting counterparts, we too have survived every iteration of D&D, except for some reason all the way back in 1st edition, druids and monks were considered cleric subclasses, so there's that.
I mean, I can kind of see the relatability between a cleric and a druid, but a monk?
It was a very different time, my dude. A better time. Except for the whole satanic panic thing.
Right. And did you also
I didn't actually know 1st edition had subclasses. Again, I'm pretty sure base 1st edition has no subclasses, but a lot of the subclasses like paladin and monk and stuff were probably added to it as part of some source books. Also, I need to pause for a sec. Alright, back. Now, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure most of these subclass things were either just flavor stuff or stuff that was added in source books, because as far as I know, the 1st edition classes were originally fighter, magic user, cleric, and later thief. And then 3 more classes were added, which were elf, dwarf, and halfling.
have
Completely unhinged spells? Of course. With a bit of unholy water, I could cast the opposite of regenerate, and essentially any limb that I touched, I could turn to dust with wither.
Well, that settles it. I think I want to play 1st edition. My guy, you've heard nothing yet. At 2nd level in 2nd edition, I can cast Light and Load, which... Please don't tell me that's a sex thing. No, what is wrong with you? Well, it's just... Moving right along, at 6th level we can touch a creature and cast Break Limb. I actually don't think you need to explain that one to me. It's pretty straightforward. Druids even got their own dedicated class in 2nd edition under the Priest category, so we too have our own deranged spells. Let me guess. Tree kissing? A missed opportunity by the sound of things. Instead, we can just create things like puffballs. I'm gonna need a bit more clarification.
Isn't
It
that a
allows
type
us to
of
transform
mushroom?
a mushroom, truffle, or toadstool into a fungus-based grenade that we can hurl at our enemies. Your
Holy!
Honor, I love him. Well, if you like that, perhaps you'd like to climb aboard my tree steed, which is another spell I can cast, which transforms a log, plank, or similar piece of wood into a rideable mount as it sprouts out little legs. Where's this creativity in modern D&D? Well, look, having several thousand spells to try and keep on top of and pick became a bit monotonous. Not to mention, having to try and keep all of these spells balanced for players was next to impossible, so it had to be culled down significantly.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that?
So did monks get their own class in 2nd edition as well?
Not at all. They just got completely removed.
I mean, fair enough. What's the point in even playing a non-spellcaster?
You can say that again.
On top of all this, I was introduced in this version of D&D as a rogue type.
Wasn't Bard one of the most convoluted classes in 2nd edition? I think. Again, I heard this from one of Pro Jared's Let's Plays. And I might be wrong here because I've never played 2nd edition myself. I just heard shit about it. And video games. But Bard had like 5 levels of fighter, 5 levels of wizard, 2 levels of druid, I want to say. And 5 levels of rogue, and then you'd get a bard if you did all of that bullshit.
Rogue? Well, I guess you do fit the profile of being a sly, cunning, and secretive type. Did you get your own unique spells as well? Not necessarily, because I too just got access to the wizard grouping of spells, but it did allow me to cast things like Enter Dream, so I could target a creature and when they're in their imaginative slumber space, I could enter their dream and just do whatever the fuck I want. I'm kinda happy you can't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore? What's the point in even existing? To attempt to fornicate with anything that moves? Well, thank God, at least that's still consistent. So, what happened?
Hold on, can bards do that in 5th edition? I know there's a spell called Dream of the Silver Veil. Hang on, I need to check this out real quick. One sec. Step. I was thinking of this Dream of the Blue Veil, which is a cool spell by its own metric, but it is what it is. It is not
classes in
that.
3rd edition. As already alluded to, 3rd edition shaped the bulk of what modern D&D looks like, as the spellcasters took the form of bards, wizards, clerics, druids, and sorcerers. Scum.
The fuck's your problem?
Please ignore him. In 3.5 edition, Warlocks were also added into the mix, thus completing the full repertoire of spellcasters that we have available in 5th edition, but they still had access to prestige classes. So would I be right in assuming that spells haven't changed that drastically between 3rd and 5th edition?
That is where you'd be horribly mistaken.
Hold on. I didn't know Warlock was part of 3rd edition. That's cool. I wonder how 3rd edition Warlock worked. I need to check that out because Warlock is my second favorite class and it is so unique. I do say that in 5th edition there are actually 4 caster types. Full casters, half casters, 1/3 casters like Eldritch Knights and Arcane Tricksters, and Warlock, because Warlock is just wild. Warlock is different than anything else in 5th edition. So I didn't know Warlock was in 3rd edition. I need to check that out.
My child, because in 3rd edition I had access to all of my packs, like Death Pact, which could quite literally prevent death itself.
That's kind of mid in the grand scheme of things.
Fine then, how about my greater consumptive field? Anything within the radius that's reduced to 9 hit points or fewer has to roll a death saving throw, and if they fail, they permanently die and I suck in their life essence, gaining hit points and strength modifiers.
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
And I have access to Steel Dance, which essentially allows me to transform 2 daggers into short swords that turn into dancing or spiritual weapons that fight for me.
I mean, it's cute.
And I have the ability to dance for a minute straight, which will reveal the exact direction of any individual I'm looking for.
And that is way more bard-coded.
In 3rd edition, I can make roses fall from the sky in a designated area, and it deals damage temporarily to people's wisdom score. And if that score is reduced to 0, they become unconscious and have terrifying nightmares.
How pleasant.
And then I can cast Drown on them to fill their lungs with water.
Okay, you terrify me.
And I could stick things together with a stick spell.
Does that work like sovereign glue?
Oh heavens no, a light breeze could separate these 2 things.
Well then, it sounds fucking pointless.
Well, what about permanency then? That was one of the coolest things to exist in the first 3 editions of D&D.
Oh yeah, permanency was... I know about that spell. That was pretty fucking broken. I remember when I first ran my very first D&D 5th edition game, I actually homebrewed a 5th edition version of permanency, which is weird because I had actually never played any of the other editions. I just thought permanency was cool, but my god, is that broken. What permanency basically does is that it makes a spell which normally would last for all that long permanent. Yeah, imagine permanent and spiritual weapon on the cleric. Imagine permanent Tensor's transformation. Actually, no, that would just be you playing as a fighter at that point. Imagine permanent and Tasha's, what's it called again? Otherworldly guys. Shit's wild.
But it never seemed to make it to 5th edition.
And what did permanency do?
At a great personal cost of experience and exhaustion, you could make the effects of some spells permanent, like comprehend languages, detect magic, or even enlarge.
That might be the best one yet.
And don't forget about us, we can Eldritch Blast.
That's still all you do.
Well, thank fuck for that.
Okay, so with that all in mind, what about 4th?
We don't talk about 4th edition.
Right, my apologies. And thus, that returns us to the modern day, where we're kind of between two versions at the moment, and between the two of them, there hasn't been too many drastic changes to spellcasters. Outside of subclasses now being only available at level 3, right? Yes, except for that. And of course, some fairly big changes to druids, some minor ones to clerics, sorcerers, and bards, and some lackluster ones to warlocks and wizards. Well,
Yeah, 5.5 is
those
not...
as well. Not to mention, the new Conjure Minor Elementals is terrifyingly broken. There's always going to be some small things that slip through the cracks, and rangers still suck. Finally, something we can agree on.
Well, that's that, I guess. That was a fun video. Really was. There's another video I want to watch, but I think I'll watch that on my own time. I think this was a fun reaction. And as for 4th edition, I didn't play 4th edition, and it is probably the one edition where I know nothing about. Like other editions from videos and reading the rules and shit, I know one or two things about other editions. I'm not good at them. I don't know how to play them, but I know a few things. I know nothing about 4th edition, but from what little of it I did here, specifically from one video by Puffin Forest, I think 4th edition was the most balanced of all the editions, including 5e. But the problem is that it was very basic and samey, and you needed a computer. Like a lot of 4th edition's abilities was as -x or +x to y for z turns, and when there are like and even low level enemies like goblins could do it. So when you have like 10 enemies, 10 enemies is a lot. When you say have like 4 party members and 3 enemies, that's 7 actors using 7 powers that all have 7 separate counters to keep track of, and it gets impossible to keep track of at one point. And a lot of abilities were samey, like kind of like this. Like if the wizard gets magic missile, fighter gets unerring shot or something, and I do not miss shot, rogue gets aimed shot, and all of them do the same thing with same damage, stuff like that. So again, I just made that example up. I'm not saying that was an actual thing in 4th edition, and I was just saying that as an example. So yeah, that is what I know of 4th edition, and this video was enlightening. I'm gonna go check out 3rd edition Warlock now. So guys, that's it for this video. If you liked this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you hated it. I'll heart your comment to let you know I've read them. So just because I hated your comment doesn't mean I agree with it or endorse it. I'm Zulk, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.